Welcome back to O Taste and See. It has been a while since I posted a video. We've had a lot going on in our family. We have officially finished school other than grading some papers. I have been outside with my chicken. I have of course been in the kitchen, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, even though I haven't been videoing that. And I even ventured outside to help my husband do a few things. It's been a pretty big month for us. My husband recently started a new job, so he's home a lot more, and I'm just pretty busy with everyday life. So in this video, we're going to be making some garlic cheese rolls. I hope you'll stick around, and I hope you try them out and let me know how you like them. Just like any other video, I normally say that my yogurt is on in the back. This morning I didn't start it yet, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to go ahead and put that on. This is for my friend at church, and I make that about every other week. And sometimes I make yogurt twice a week because I've actually been making my husband's and son's yogurt. I don't eat yogurt, but they say it is delicious. It is super easy. It takes about 8 hours in the Instapot. So I like to start that first thing in the morning so I have time to put that in the fridge once it gets done. Once you get everything together and you put it on, that's literally it. It just sits back there in the Instapot and does its own thing. So it's super simple, super easy, and one day I'll sneak out that recipe. Just to tell you a little more about what I've been doing since I've been off of YouTube, the first part of June, my sister had a birthday, and we helped her husband throw her a surprise birthday party, and I was in charge of most of the food, and I took my Blackstone and we grilled fajitas and Mexican street corn and refried beans, and of course we had stuff for nachos and cheese for the kids and stuff, and all the toppings to go with that. For dessert, we had hot fudge cake, and that was oh so yummy. And then after that, we played a game of volleyball with everybody at the party, and I am not good at sports at all, and that was so much fun, but man was I sore. So like I said, I know I took off for a whole month, and apparently I forgot how to cook and video at the same time. This video is going to be a little bit of everywhere, and I'm going to apologize for that now. But to start out, you're going to need 1 1/3 cup of milk, and you should have 4 tablespoons of butter on back there with that milk. And as you see, I did not put butter in that, but don't worry, I'm going to come in and put butter in that. And then you do not want this to boil, you just want it to get warm enough to activate some yeast. And here is my next tip. Don't let it boil like I did. I had to let it sit and cool down, of course. And you will see a lot of clips in between that because I am waiting on my milk to cool down. I'm just being real here. I could have edited the time out that it took me to let my milk cool, but I just left it in there to show you that even I make mistakes sometimes. For the rest of this recipe, you're going to need around 8 grams of yeast, and then 2 teaspoons of salt, which I think is about 12 grams, and 230 grams of all-purpose flour, and 230 grams of bread flour. While I am waiting, I'm going to go ahead and take some mozzarella cheese, and I am going to slice that real thin, and then I'm going to cube it up, and I'm actually going to put this in my food processor. This is a way that I shred my cheese. I know some people use pre-shredded cheese, but I use the block cheese, and I like to put it in my food processor because it is much quicker that way. So before I put it in my food processor, I probably started out with about 2 cups, and by the time I shredded it in my food processor, I probably ended up with about 1 cup, and I used most of that in this recipe. At some point, I did go ahead and add my milk and my butter to the yeast that I already put in the bowl. I don't know where that clip went, but I did go ahead and take that off. It did cool down enough. And I added that to my yeast, and it is sitting there getting active and bubbly as we fry these dishes. I'm also going to go ahead and apologize for all the lip singing that you see in this video. My boys was outside doing some work, and I was inside alone, and when I'm inside alone, I feel like that is a free concert waiting to happen, and I try to hit those high notes that I know good and well I shouldn't be trying to hit. So I like to stir mine with a spoon. I use a wooden spoon until I can't stir no more, and then I'm going to knead it. And I actually didn't like the feel. I thought the dough was a little too sticky for my liking, and I was going to try to knead it here, and it just stuck to my hands too much. So I did sprinkle down a little bit of flour, and as you see, once I add that flour, I literally put my dough in it, but I don't need all that I actually lay down on my counter, and I actually take it out of the flour that's there, and I just knead what I've actually got on my dough. So you just have to play around with the texture of your dough. You don't want it to be dry, but you also don't want it to be so sticky that you can't work with it either. Once you get that kneaded and it is a soft ball of dough, you're going to put that back in your bowl, and I like to cover mine with cellophane and a towel. And you can leave that sitting out on your counter if you're like most people and your house is 70 degrees. As I've said before on another video, my house is not 70 degrees most of the time, so I actually had my oven on back there, and I just leave it on for just a couple minutes, just enough to get it warm. I don't leave it on enough to get it in an actual temperature, but it's just warm enough to actually make my dough rise, and I turn it right back off and just leave my dough in there. This needs to sit for around an hour, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what else we're going to do after that. In the meantime, I'm going to show you some pictures of my baby chicks that I got this spring. They are growing like crazy. This is Alvin, and he likes to sit on my shoulder. He is the sweetest little bird. And these are my boys outside working today doing some weed eating on the hillside. I'm so glad that my son likes to weed eat so that I can stay inside, because he's actually using my weed eater, and that means when he's using it, I can't use it. While we wait, we're going to go ahead and mix some of our ingredients that we're going to put inside these rolls. I'm going to use some minced garlic, and yes, that looks like a lot, but this is going to make around 8 rolls, and you put that on the inside and you put that on the outside. So that's really not a lot. I'm using parsley, I'm using onion powder, I'm using Italian seasoning, and I think that's it. And you're going to just mix all of that together, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that once we get our dough out. And then of course you've got your cheese sitting to the side. And of course I had to do a sniff check, and our dough should double in size or get bigger than that. Now I think I made around 8 rolls out of this, and I probably could have made smaller portions than I did, but I left them big, so I say I could easily get 12 out of this. And I like to take my dough and I like to make it long instead of round, and I like to, normally I would cut it in half and then figure out how many pieces I wanted to get out of each half, but I didn't do that this time. I just went to cutting, and you'll see here in a minute that I tried to make some dough fit other places because I had too big of chunks in certain spots. I like to roll it out with a rolling pin. It don't have to be perfect shape. And then I will rub some of that garlic herb mixture there. And then I lay a pretty big amount of cheese down inside it. And then I just take the edges and the corners and kind of fold them in like you are going to like wrap a present or something that's in a ball. And then I just roll it across the counter a few times. And it makes a beautiful round ball. If I had thought, I could have made these like a breadstick and did them like a breadstick shape, but I don't know why. This is just what I think of. I could have done it in a knot, but I feel like I would have lost most of my insides if I had done it in the shape of a knot. I don't know where I would have put all the cheese. So I did it in a roll, but you could do these in a long cheese stick shape if that's what you choose to do. You could really do any shape that you desire to do. So I'm going to cover mine with a towel and I'm going to let them sit for around another 30 minutes. Then while you wait on that, you can take the rest of those garlic and herbs that you had and you can crack an egg in that and go ahead and whisk that together, and you're going to actually brush that on the top of your rolls before you put them in the oven. You're going to preheat your oven to around 350 and you're going to bake those for 15 to 20 minutes. It all just depends on your oven. And then I actually turned my on broil at very end, maybe for like the last minute. And I turned it on low broil and I just stood there and watched them so that they could get a little bit of brown on top. As you can see there, these turned out to be pretty big rolls, and I could have easily got 12 out of them and made them more of a portion that you would actually eat with lasagna or spaghetti or Alfredo or something like that. So you could easily get 12 out of this if you wanted them to be a little smaller. So I actually melted a few tablespoons of butter and I'm going to pour that over it. You could brush that on it or whatever, but I just like to do it while they're hot, and it just makes the butter just kind of melt in with them. And oh, these were so good. My husband walked in the door and he said he had worked up an appetite and wanted to know if he could eat one while they was hot. And I said, you've got to let me get a picture before you can eat one. Oh, would you just look at all that cheese? Oh, it's going to be so good. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope you enjoy.